In New York City, which the mayor of New York City and the governor of the state have done probably the most disastrous job of any elected officials in the country, which is why the media salute them, particularly Cuomo. Cuomo has an enormous amount of blood on his hands because of the decision he made on March 24th and 25th, forcing corona-positive patients into assisted living homes and nursing homes. 40% of the deaths, north of 40% of the deaths in this country, 200,000, about 80,000, give or take, are people who have lived in or were living in nursing homes and assisted living homes. And these decisions by these governors, these big blue state governors, were outrageous, and they had enough bed capacity because the president provided it to them. And they never even came close to using all the bed capacity they claimed they would need, or all the ventilators they claimed they would need. They were panicking, they were fear-mongering, and as a result, they cost a lot of people their lives. The shutdowns, the health consequences, the mental health consequences, the suicides, the depression, the violence at home by demanding that people stay at home, the regression when it comes to education for all these kids, and the social regression because they're not around other kids, and so they're not learning how to behave one among the others. It's just appalling. We haven't seen any of the damage yet from all of this. And yet, day in and day out, it's the drumbeat that Trump is irresponsible, that he doesn't listen to the science, that he didn't take this seriously. It's so much BS, it's hard to stomach. Now, in New York, we see the mayor of New York being the goofball that he always is. It's not even funny, even though he's a joke, because of all the mayhem he has caused. Take a look at this. Go. What a geek. What a buffoon. So he does the opposite of what Trump does. The disaster that is a city. I noticed he didn't do that during all the riots in New York City. When Black Lives Matter was out there burning up the place, and Antifa was burning up the place, and they were painting Black Lives Matter on the street. I don't remember this guy wearing all the masks. He didn't say a word to the protesters, the rioters, the arsonists, the looters about wearing masks. Not a word. And this is the great hypocrisy among the Democrats. If you're going to burn down buildings, assault people, and even kill people, if you're going to brutalize police and burn the police vehicles and so forth and so on, you don't have to wear a mask. If you're going to gather for a religious purpose or any other purpose, education, faith, then you better wear a mask, or we're going to break you up, break up the group, shut down the synagogue, and arrest you. This is the left. You're smelling and seeing tyranny all around you. You truly are. This is tyranny. Earlier I mentioned the First Amendment to the Constitution. And among the issues in the First Amendment, the protections, includes religious liberty. Why did the Pilgrims come here? They were fleeing religious persecution. Why do so many people come here? Fleeing persecution, including religious persecution. So the First Amendment's very, very important. Can you imagine a governor or a mayor saying, if there's too many people gathering in a newsroom, I'm going to shut down the newsroom? They don't even look at the newsroom. There's too many people gathering at the New York Times building. So if you keep this up, I'm shutting it down. Nobody would put up with that. Too many people gathering at CNN on the broadcast stage, and we told you no more than 5, we told you 6 feet apart, or whatever the rule they choose to put in, and so we're going to shut down your broadcast. Nobody would put up with that. But the same level of protection applies to people of faith who wish to pray together. There's also in the First Amendment, maybe you've heard this phrase, freedom of assembly. So it's really a violation of 2 aspects of the First Amendment, the freedom of religious exercise and the freedom of assembly and association. And so a governor is not free to violate the federal Constitution. That is the federal Constitution. A governor is not free to do it. Yet we see courts and governors doing this all the time when they're changing election laws, because under Article 2, the state legislature decides, not governors and not even courts. So here we have Andrew Cuomo. Now, Andrew Cuomo always sounds to me like he's drunk or something's wrong. just the way he speaks. But apparently this is very appealing to people in New York, at least the leftists who keep voting for him and telling the pollsters what a fantastic governor he is. CNBC, I think it's about 3 days ago. Let's check it out. Go.
Religious institutions have been a problem. We know mass gatherings are the super spreader events.
No, stop. So religious institutions have been a problem. They're super spreader events. This man never said that. All the days and nights of peaceful protests, all the days and nights of rioting and looting and arson, he never said that these are super spreaders. But if you're religious people and you're in a religious event, in a religious institution, a temple or church or whatever, you're a super spreader. How does he get away with this? How does this governor get away with this without being totally condemned by a media? Because the media is corrupt, that's why. It's shocking. Go ahead.
We know there have been mass gatherings going on in concert with religious institutions in these communities for weeks. I understand it's difficult.
Stop. Where do Antifa and Black Lives Matter meet? Does anyone know? They meet in buildings? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Is the governor interested in knowing? Does he check it out? No, not really. But religious institutions, we know where they meet because we see a church, we see a mosque, we see a synagogue. But he, Cuomo, and de Blasio are really focused on the Jews more than anything else. It's the Orthodox Jews. They despise the Hasidic and the Orthodox Jews. Why? Because they mostly vote Republican. That's the truth. Even though most of them aren't Republican per se, they mostly vote Republican. They're mostly politically conservative, like on the social issues. And so they target them. They're not going to target Black Lives Matter and Antifa. They're not going to target the rioters because most of them are Democrats, truth be told. Go ahead.
But I want a person monitoring the attendance in a temple, in a black church, in a Catholic church, and if the rules are violated, then action has to be taken at that.
Stop. So the day before he was only talking about Orthodox Jews. Today he's added others like black churches and so forth, which is actually in many ways worse. So now he's telling the whole faith community, I want to monitor your church, your synagogue, your mosque. I'm going to monitor it. This is a Democrat. Whatever happened to civil liberties? Whatever happened to protecting individual rights? He's going to, the state is going to monitor, not for potential terrorism. They're going to monitor whether or not they comply with this bogus rule. And he is going to monitor it. And if they are not complying, he's going to shut them down. Go ahead.
Moment. I'm going to say to the Orthodox community tomorrow, if you don't agree, then we will have to close down your religious institutions.
He has no authority whatsoever to close down religious institutions. None. The right to exercise your religion and your faith is chiseled into the First Amendment. He would lose that case. I'd be surprised if it went to the Supreme Court. He didn't lose 9-0, but you can never tell with the four leftists. But it is such an abuse of power. These are madmen and mad women in the case of Michigan, where the power has gone to their head and under the cover of health, they are now showing their true colors. The fascism is on the left. The constitutionalism is on the right.